Amy Winehouse I really wanted to talk with, but it was very sad. There's a stigma that's on me because I'm on television, like I like celebrities or something, but I just like music. Everybody looks at addicts different, and maybe we all need to talk amongst ourselves and get on the same page. Because when you take an addict and you present it to a minister, they go, oh, that person has a lack of faith and they have no God in their life. You give it to a psychiatrist, they go, oh, they're bipolar and they have, dysthymia, which is depression, chronic depression. And so that's why they do it. And the addiction people say, well, they're just addicts and they need to go to 12-step meetings and not use and do this. And I think that's a pretty simplistic way of looking at it. And then you have the judicial saying these people are a criminal element and they need to be locked up. So if everybody's on these counterintuitive kind of ideas about what is the problem, there's something much more deadly in America, much more deadly than drugs. It's going to throw our healthcare system into a whirling dervish in the next 20 years, and that is obesity. They're both behaviors that are interactive. I use obesity not to pick on the obese or anything, but because somebody has to eat in order to become that big. So it's an interactive participation in your illness. Don't just let him say he's powerless over alcohol and he's an addict, or powerless over drugs. He's doing it. He does the drugs. Well, the obese people eat the food. But interestingly enough, in obesity, if you lose a lot of weight, everybody celebrates it. Everybody's so happy. They have TV shows about, oh my God, the biggest person who lost the biggest amount of weight, right? But, our patients on our show just get all this negative, oh, they just want to be famous. You never get negativity towards America's Biggest Losers. I'm against this kind of attitude that drug addicts are morally weak or stupid or need to grow up or all this kind of stuff. They have a disease. It's problematic. It has causation and treatment. There's all this negative attitude towards addicts, and there's an embarrassment by getting well from it. One of the things about the Chili Peppers addiction story is that we all love each other very, very much. I mean, we all come from very dysfunctional backgrounds, and we kind of found each other right here on Hollywood Boulevard like 30 years ago. And so we were all kind of friends, and John came along later, was like a little brother to us. So what happened was I tried to be sober by example and always be available, but I'm not going to sit around and tell you what you're doing is right or whatever. And so through that relationship comes a trust. Like, you know what Bob's going to say. Anthony called me on his last run, and I go, where are you? And he said, I'm in Laguna Beach. And I go, dude, maybe you should just move to Memphis. And he was like, what are you talking about? I go, dude, you're never going to get sober in LA. You should get out of town. You should go just rent an apartment and go to 12-step meetings somewhere. It was me being that codependent in his life that I have no more answers for you. I don't know what to do. Actually having a boundary, like, I don't know what you should do anymore. I can't solve the problem. What makes an addict stop? I have a philosophical thing. I believe that true love, the word love, is the thing that heals addicts. If you want to keep taking drugs, you can keep taking drugs. If you die of them, I'll be so sad and I'll miss you so much. I'm not going to impose my will on you. I'm just going to love you unconditionally. My son was worried that I was going to die. He said his biggest fear, they have a thing in school, like in 3rd or 4th grade, like, what are your favorite things and whatever, and then they had this question, what is your biggest fear? And it was that dad relapses and gets back on drugs. A lot of people who relapse repeatedly, if you really hear their stories, they didn't get sober and are going to another treatment center. I was in 24 treatment centers. Whether you stay sober or not has very little to do with that experience. It has to do with what you do the day you get out and the day after and the day after. But I was told when I got sober, it's your mouth and your hands and your feet, and you decide what you do with it. I think it was the first time in years I had heard about personal responsibility. That's how I heard it. the reason why our field is kind of a subject du jour is we're challenging other fields. Prescription drugs are readily available. Every kid has access to them. Adderall, Xanax, Klonopin, Vicodin. And what they do is they change the route of administration. Kids take pills that have time release and smoke them on tinfoil so the time release burns off. Kids crush and snort Adderall regularly at school to get the full rush of the stimulant. And I say to every American parent, if your kid's on Adderall, ask yourself, are they doing better in school? Are they learning? They just know they're not getting called by the school anymore. So what does a parent do when their kid is out of control? You have to have boundaries. You may have never had them. I know I didn't. I have a 24-year-old son that was out of control for 7, 8 years. With him, I had to listen to him. Not tell him, but listen to him. What is he saying to me? What is he saying verbally, and what is he saying in his actions? So the narcissism of the parent has to be put aside for the betterment of the child. We need to ask ourselves, what do we need to do in order to raise children better, to have better communities? You know what pissed me off the most in the last 20 years, and a lot of things have pissed me off? Hillary Clinton, who, love her or hate her, whatever, I happen to love her, said it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a community to raise a child. And she was crucified for saying that. You know, I always say, especially to parents, having your child on drugs is like watching a dog running in the street and you know it's going to get hit. I barely missed a dog running across the highway, and I looked in my rearview mirror and I thought, bam! Now with children, it's doubly frightening. You have to talk to people who have the same problems. Talk to physicians, talk to psychologists, therapists, social workers, access to any information. But be very informed when you're going to approach to try to help your child. See, often family members just think, oh, they're on drugs, I need to call an expert. And this is a for-profit industry. And there's no better customer than somebody who thinks their child is going to die. So the parents, grandparents, family members, spouses of addicts who are in full-blown addiction or alcoholism and out of control and at risk and at harm need to educate themselves and center themselves so that they can then decide what to do about the addict in their life. But it all starts with somebody making one healthy action, and that is, as a parent, get educated.